Yep. So my entire journey has been, so I've started the recording, guys, and my entire journey has been into automations. Whether it's so I started my journey with script automations, and I did macros. I came into RP. I did Blue Prism, UiPath. So majorly, a couple of years with UiPath. I did bit of Power Automate, and specifically with UiPath, I'm all level certified, like not just the academy certifications, but their latest, paid certification from Pearson Academy. So I'm ARD certified, I'm associate certified, right? Okay. Now the let's look at what we're going to cover in this session quickly, since we are a little this is a short timing session, so we'll just quickly look at the content. So we're going to take a good look at UiPath, how does it look and feel, and how exactly UiPath looks like. We'll look at how different workflow panels are there, right? And different wizards, like the recorders and screen scrapers from UiPath, we'll look into that. Then overview of Orchestrator. This is one component from UiPath, which is a web-based application. So we'll also, kind of have an overview over this. Then what are the different type of application platforms UiPath can interact with? And apart from just the RPA tool, what are the other products from UiPath company, right? So let's just cover first these three, which are mostly UiPath based, and then we'll come back to these three. And the last, we'll also see a bot in action. So I have designed, we can say a simple bot, which you can just, you guys can see how, RPA, or how the bot takes care of the process and how the bot runs in UiPath, right? Okay. Okay. So guys, at the bottom, the symbol that you see, kind of an S symbol, is actually a symbol for UiPath. So I already have Studio installed in my system. If you see the symbol for it, this is UiPath. Now, earlier this symbol was UI. I mean, from just UI from the entire UiPath, earlier this was UI, but recently, company has been going over a lot of changes. So it's been made to the symbol, right? Now, when you open this, and you can download this from Academy, all the trainings, certifications from Academy, their quizzes, their tools, their orchestrator, everything is free in the Academy, right? You just have to go and register and you get access to everything. So it's pretty simple in terms of learning accessibility and their learning management system, right? So their LMS is also pretty much free. Now, so this is the, you can say, the default page when you open a UiPath, right? Now, so when you open this, let's say we'll create a blank process. Now, this is the portion where you can open up any old projects that you've created, right? Then you have different kinds of processes that you want to create, whether it's a library or usable component or it's a process. We also have some templates from UiPath, like background, RE framework template. Now, these templates, enables developers to save some time during development. Like, let's say, you're designing some process from the scratch. And when you design a process from scratch, it it usually takes a lot of time. You have to test it, right? You validate the entire template. Whereas UiPath has already done this for us. We already have the template. We have the logging mechanism. We have the exception handling already done. You just have to place your code within this template and your project is entirely ready. So these templates are those for, we have one for background, for framework. So this is the one which is mostly used, Robotics Enterprise Framework. I would say around 90 to 95% of the projects are built on REF, right? There are some projects, which follow, an absolute design also, but most of the projects are being following REF. Okay. We'll create one small process. All right. Let's see. So you can just provide any logical name, demo, and you can choose the location. You can put some description also. I'll just say first demo on UiPath, although this is not mandate description, only the start fields are mandate. And then you also have the compatibility of language choosing, right? You can either choose VB or C#. So I'm just preferring Visual Basic for now. Let's say, if you want to, in your pages, if you want to call functions, their formats, and, so this is the language that you want to choose. If you're comfortable with C#, you can go with C# as well. But I personally prefer VB, so I'll just leave it to VB. So it'll create a workspace for me. Now this, the tool that you're seeing, this is called as UiPath Studio. Now this is where the entire development happens. Development as in, I create the design for my bot. This is the process that will be replacing, or this is the process that will be doing the manual task, right? Now we have a couple of panels. If you see in the starting, we have a design panel. So there are, normal framework functions are there, cut copy paste is there. manage packages. We'll just come back to manage packages, and there are some wizards, screen scraping, data scraping, right? So this is just to enable you or enable you for a fast development or a rapid application development, right? On the left hand side, you have the files in your project. Right hand side, you have these activities. Okay. Now, how do you know what UiPath supports now, guys? When you okay, just a second. Yeah. Now, if you go and look into activities, if you see there are three panels at the bottom, one is project, output, and activities. So we have varieties of sets of activities here. So if you just search Excel, you'll find a lot of activities for Excel. So you just have to know when to call them, how to use them, and that's it. It'll enable you to work on them. Let's say similarly, if you're working on Word, okay, for Word we'll get that. So let's say if you're working on database, we have a package for database, but it is not visible at the moment. Now what do you do then? You go to manage packages. Now this is where the libraries from UiPath. Now this is kind of a global library folder, right? A global library packages folder, where if you go to all packages, you'll get packages from Microsoft, from UiPath, from even third-party vendors. Even you can even create a new library and put it here, so it can be used anywhere, right? So let's say I want to, I don't have a database package, but I want to work on database. How do I do that? So you just search for database, and now this is SQLite. So I'll just search for. Okay, this one. So you see this UI symbol, that means this is being built by UiPath. So we try and prefer mostly the dependencies from UiPath or Microsoft, which are properly tested. Okay, and then you can choose the version which one you want to install, and then you can just say install and save. So this way, you can install any of the packages, whether let's say you want to work with a Word document, you're working with email, you're working with database, you're working with terminal activities like command prompt or mainframes, right? So you have pretty much everything at your exposure. You just have to go and find in the right library. Now let's say let's find database now, right? Earlier it was not visible. So if you see, we have database activities also, run query run command. It's that simple. Now for email, we have a lot of activities for emails. There is Exchange email, IBM notes, and it's just that simple. I don't have to teach you, how do you use these. Let's say if you want to send an email, right? So let's say I'll prefer Outlook. If you have to send email, just drag and drop this here, and you can just then provide which account, whom do you want to send the email, what is the subject, what is the body, and that's it. This activity will send the email if you run it. So this is about the activities, right? And sorry, where do I keep this so it doesn't interfere? Okay. Now onto the design tab. There's a very nice feature with UiPath. It has a lot of wizards, like latest wizards from, it is incorporated. Since this was a tool which is built later on, like initially we had Pega, we had Blue Prism, and UiPath did not start yet. We had automation anywhere. So, when this tool was built, it took up whatever was missing in every tool. So if there was some recorders missing in UiPath, it took that. The visualization was missing in automation anywhere, it took that, and it combined all the tool, and then it had in the market. Yeah. So we have a couple of recorders. So if I just click on recording, we have basic, desktop, web for different kind of applications. So we'll see a recorder in action. Let's just try using a recorder. So let's say web application or a desktop application, anything is fine. So a recorder is open, right? Now we can try on any application. Let's say I want to write something on the notepad, right? I'll just say record, or rather start application. So this will start my application. So what does recording does is whatever actions I does or whatever action I do, it just converts them into a design or kind of code thing. So let's say I want to write something here. Hello UiPath demo. It's still recording. I just hit enter and it types. And if I just press escape and save and exit, you'll see the code is generated. So this is the code where it opens the notepad and it types something. So this is how recorders can be used. Now let's say if you want to use it for some web, let's try. It's the same way with web also. Okay. And we'll try and open a different application. Let's say we have BP travel. Okay. And first thing I'll say is open this browser and extension is not involved. Okay, just fine. I think okay, when you're working with browsers, you have to enable some extensions, right? Which helps UiPath to connect to these browsers, whether it's Edge. Now IE has been downgraded, right? It's no more being used. So what you can do is you can go to Home, you can go to Tools, and then you can go to Plugins, no extensions, and then you can install whichever you need. Let's say if you're working on Chrome, you install it. If you're working on Edge, you install that, right? So you have all these plugins already there. You just have to install, and UiPath will start connecting to these, right? So let's see this one in action now. How do you run this? Let's say I made this. How do we run this? You can just say run file, or you can just say run. I'll say run file for now. Okay. So if you see, it opened the notepad and type UiPath. So I mean, this is how you can use and record everything. It's pretty easy to learn, guys. It's just a new skill. If you spend 20 hours in just foundation, you learn the basics of it, and then you keep practicing, and then you get expert through. Right. So any skill, I would say, 10 to 20 hours is should be the time to just grasp the skill and then keep improving over that. Again, now we also have some screen scraping and data scraping features. Okay, let me show you that. Now this screen scraping is actually for reading tables or structured data. Now let's say Google Finance, Tesla. I'm just trying to open up history stock or kind of a table for okay, let's say I want to read this table, right? You're on a website and you want to read this table. So how do you read that? So it says open a browser application or document and select the element which you want to read. So I'll just say I want to read. Okay, I think something wrong with my browser plugin. But that plugin is already installed. Why is it asking for extension again and again? Okay, I can try another browser also. I'll just take a minute, guys. Just need to check where is UiPath. Okay, somehow it got disabled. So I'll just enable this. Okay, and this should be fine. Okay, let's try now. I think it should work now. Let's say I want to read this table and data scraping. Okay, you see now earlier this was coming as an entire box, but right now I'm able to identify all the elements. Now, why this happened? This is because of the plugin I installed. So let's say I want to identify revenue. Now it'll ask me, you selected a table cell. Do you want to read the entire table? I'll say yes, I want to read the entire table. As soon as you said yes, sorry, so it gives you the entire table. So whatever is there, even this change, right? It gives you everything. And this is how it's simple to read data from web. Now, guys, not just this. UiPath has given many wizards which enables us to, quickly enable us for development activities, right? Apart from that, we have different properties which you can configure. We also have a debug tab. Debug is for, if you want to troubleshoot your code, right? So we have breakpoints. Now, most of these, if you belong to any, any coding background, or if you've used any framework tool, not even coding background, if you've used any framework tool, like even some of you some of these properties you would still see in Notepad or PowerPoint also, right? Apart from that, you would see some debugging options, step over, step into, or highlight, or even breakpoint, right? If you want to control the speed of execution, and this is all for debugging, right? So okay, let's go back to, so we've had the look and feel, flow panels. Okay, now apart from this UiPath, We also have one more thing which is called as Orchestrator. Now, cloud.uipath.com. You can just open this link. Now, don't worry about the URLs. I'll send you everything, I'll send you the URLs and all that. Okay. So this is my orchestrator. Now, this is another tool from UiPath company itself. So now what happens is when we, let's say my bot is ready or my process is ready, whatever I designed, right? It's ready now. Now, when we migrate the process to test or production environment, right? We did not get the studio, right? We only have this orchestrator access. Now, this is the place where I can run my processes from. I can do everything from there. Okay. I'll just show you how it. And let me just say refresh here. Okay, so now this is the orchestrator. Now in the orchestrator, you will see, you can control your automations. Now, whatever processes I build, so whatever I'm building in UiPath is called as a process. Okay, so I can publish my processes here and I can just run it from here only. You don't get access to Studio once you're done the design and development. So this is the tool, orchestrator. This is the tool where you actually run your processes from. You can monitor your processes. You can schedule your processes. You can give users access. You have configurable values. Even there are some components from DevOps also. You have storage buckets, right? You have a testing manager. You can run test cases from here. You have an action center. Even you have a studio web. This is a community feature which is not yet correctly launched. It's we're still waiting for this to be completely launched. But I think in couple of months time you'll see this feature also enabled. Okay, so now let's say this is my process that I built, right? And let me just connect this to it. Why does it say error? Okay, just a second. And let me close this one. Okay, maybe it's okay. So let's say these are the processes I published, right? Now, how do you publish a process? You can go to UiPath, you can just select this publish button and create your publish a process to Orchestrator. Now, once you push the process from your studio to Orchestrator, your studio has to be connected to Orchestrator. So you can come and configure your robots here, right? Apart from that, okay, yep. Now, how do you run your bot? You can just, let's say I want to run this one. So if I'll just say come and start job, you can select the bot and just hit start. Okay. And your process starts. So you can see that it's right on pending mode. As soon as it gets a license, it'll start running. And you can even view the logs. Once the process starts running, you can view the log here also. Right. So in terms of logging, if your bot fails, in terms of dashboarding, monitoring, right, everything is there in case the management wants to see how many bots are being utilized, how many processes are running. So you can see all of this here, even the job history, how many processes failed today, how many faulted, how many were stopped. You can see entire thing here also. Now, it has been bifurcated in different sections. There is robots, there's processes, there is queues, there is SLA, right? You can do that. Now, I know, this sounds to be a lot of, information for the demo session, but again, this is just to give you an overview. You should know there is something called as orchestrator, which can control your processes, monitor, and even run it from different sections. So there is a web tool which you can control entirely to manage your automations. So this is more about orchestrator, right? Now, running this, how does the bot run? How do we manage that? I have a demo at the end, so I'll show you that. Okay. Now, what are the different application types that UiPath can interact with? Now, what are the application type that we have heard of? Okay, let's go back to Studio. let's say I want to work on Excel. The Excel is there, right? I mean, which are the most of the applications that we use in our project. So Excel is there, right? Outlook is there. Okay. So Outlook or any email. It's not just Outlook. If you search for mail, you can get for any email. We use databases. We just installed database. I think I close that one. Okay. So database is there, right? And you have PDF also. Let's say if you want to install PDF, you can just go to manage packages. You see this UiPath PDF activities is there. Now, database. So let's say if you want to convert, you want to connect to any terminal, you have terminal activities. Okay. Terminals could be any putty server terminal, or this could be any Microsoft micro. This could be any mainframe terminal also. This could be any Citrix terminal also, right? You can connect to any terminal you want. Apart from that, so Outlook, email. So let's say if you want to, you have some Word document you want to prepare using bot, right? So you can just use the Word activity, which is UiPath Word activity. So you have this also. Apart from that, there are some enterprise, libraries also. Let's say if you want to work with SAP, SAP. Okay, this is SAP Cloud. Wait, the one I'm looking for is for SAP Windows. Wait. I mean, this is also from SAP, but this is again, SAP DAPI. If you know, there is SAP HANA, there is SAP ECC and SAP API. So this is for that, establishing a connection. But the one that I'm looking for, there are other SAP activities also. Okay, I think yeah. Then let's say SAP mainframe, we have for Salesforce also. Okay, right? There is activities for Salesforce. Now, apart from this, we have ShareDrive or SharePoint. We have the activities for that also, right? MS Office. So using MS Office or using SharePoint, you can use both, right? This MS Office 365 is for cloud, where you have access to mails, files, SharePoint, ShareList, right? Everything. Or you can directly use SharePoint activities also. Now, there'll be some packages from UiPath team, right? You see this by Radu Bakur. This is somebody from UiPath team who's pasted a package. Now, what I recommend is I usually mostly recommend to use UiPath activities. Like, people should not use any third-party activities without if, because sometimes these activities are not tested, and when in production this fails, you'll say the activity was not correct. So it's a developer's job to choose the activity which is well tested. So I pick it up from mostly the major vendors or somebody from the UiPath, right? And yep, so this is so you have SharePoint, you have apart from that, you have all the Microsoft libraries. Anything you say Word, you say Exchange, you say PowerPoint, you say Excel, database, right? So you have all that. Apart from that, if you want to connect to any other database, right? This is not just SQL. So you have the OLEDB object also, where you can connect with any drivers. So mostly all the applications activities we have everything here, right? Now, apart from that, this just UiPath not only connects with these, but apart from that, UiPath is capable of connecting to any Windows application. So we have a demo. We'll see that on Windows. Apart from Windows, we UiPath can also connect with web applications, any web application, whether it's on Edge, it's on Chrome, or it's on Mozilla, right? Now, what browser does it supports? How do you know that? You can just go to Home and Tools. Go to Home, go to Extensions. You'll see whichever extensions there are there. It only supports those kind of applications. Right? It supports Chrome, Firefox, and Edge. It supports a Java application. If you're working on a Java application, you need to have this plugin. If you're working on a Silverlight application, you need to install this plugin. So again, similarly, you can install other plugins as well. If you're working on remote desktops, if you're working on a VMware, right, you can use all this. Now, guys, there are so many. Now, why? Okay, let me give you a curve graph of how UiPath actually grew, right? Earlier, the leaders were, so there was Blue Prism was a leader, there was Automation Anywhere was a leader. UiPath was just gaining traction in the market. But the way UiPath reached masses, or you can say the way it scaled up the organization, is because of these all features. Because every tool had some drawbacks, that this tool was built old, so it doesn't have the latest features. And then when UiPath came in, it had probably a plugin for everything. So if you want to work on a let's say If you want to work on a remote or a virtual environment, you have a plugin for that. If you want to work with Citrix, you have a plugin for that. If you want to work with PDFs, you have that. If you want to work on OCRs, right, there are some ML activities also. If you want to work on OCRs, you have all the OCRs. Now, apart from just these OCRs and everything, we have activities for connecting to all the cloud clients, also all the cloud vendors. You want to connect to AWS, sure, you can do that. You want to fire APIs. If you want to fire an API, you can also do that. HTTP request, right? Or yep. So it had all those features, and this was free. They had a good LMS, like learning management system. Their tool was absolutely free earlier. I think prior to this, only Automation Anywhere was giving a free tool that was only for some days. But when UiPath made it free to the entire masses, right? Then actually the other companies realized, and then they started making this free. So I mean, the way UiPath grew, right now it's a leader in the market. It has done a lot to, to come at this point. Now, even if you want to learn something, you don't have to just go yourself and study. There are a lot of sessions happening from UiPath when you know the basics, right? There are a lot of sessions happening from UiPath company itself, where you can go and check if you want to participate in sessions. Now, right now, these sessions are not very basic because they expect you to learn the basics from Academy. So there is something called as academy.uipath.com. Now it's free for everyone, right? You just have to go and register and you can start learning. So they have their courses. I would say let's select learning by role. Okay, why isn't it responding? Just okay. Anyways, but if you see under it, you'll see there are a lot of videos posted here, but task capture, data service governance, right? Apart from that, there are foundation videos as well. Let me just quickly log in. Just give me a second, guys. I think my login was removed from UiPath. Just let me just quickly log in. Okay, I'm sharing back my screen. Let's have a look. Okay. So once you open the academy, now there are courses. So if you are a citizen developer, just for the one, like let's say there are some business people who doesn't understand RPA, or they want to do something quick in RPA, they can use a citizen developer training. But for people who want to become developer, there is RPA Developer Foundation, but there is a new version to it. Let me show you. So you can start with, if you want to learn development, you can actually start with RPA Developer Foundation. Then there are trainings for the roles also. There is implementation manager, there is business analyst, there is infrastructure guy, right? So all these trainings are there. Now this is not just one video. This is very comprehensive training, guys. If you expand this, you'll see starting with RPA, they give you very basics, variables, tables. So it's hardly 10-15 videos, and even they have quizzes. They have some demos planned. And at the end, they also provide you a certificate if you complete it, right? And it's very easy. It's not if you just have to follow a training plan, you can do it, right? Apart from that, there are also some paid certifications. Now, whatever you do from courses or learning role, this will all be free. But certifications, there are 2 paid certifications at the moment. So one is associate, which is I think $150, and then there is advanced, which is $200. I've done both of these. But yeah, once you start learning, right, you can do from courses. So the only difference between courses and learning by role is, in courses it's spread randomly, whereas in learning by role, you see all the videos being laid out role wise, right? So you can choose a role according to you, and then you can start learning from here. It has, and these videos are very good, guys, and most of us actually learn from the academy. These videos are very good. So, what we did is initially, we just took a, couple of hours of UiPath training. And when I got the gist of it, I started through Academy, and then I, gradually improved my way through it. Even you can do the same. An initial context of RPA, and then you can gradually move. So this is what was Academy. Now let's see UiPath products. But before that, I just made the UiPath slide, which will cover the UiPath products also. Okay, we just have a quick look over this. Okay. Now, basically, when you say, a lot of you might have heard that, we are doing RPA and we are building bots, we are building processes, but what exactly is it, right? Now, imagine somebody is doing a job by sitting on his desk, right? And then you realize the job that that guy is doing, he is not using his brain. He just have to follow some step and he's doing his job, right? So the idea behind automation is to take that repetitive task from the human and give it to a software. So we can call this bot as a software or a service, right? So that redundant task that is being done by a human, we take that task from that human and then we give it to a software. Now the software will be doing that task. Now the software processing or doing the task is called as a bot, right? Now when this is being done, a lot of savings come into picture because that guy would be placed into some other project, or there would be realigning of resources. So the main motive of RPA is not only taking jobs, guys. It's not just people misunderstand RPA that it's taking jobs, but RPA is more into how do you realign the resources, because humans can be actually put into some other useful tasks where human judgment is required, right? Instead of just following the steps which could be taken care by the software. Now, how do you identify if you can actually automate something or not, right? Right now, that decision might be flowing into you because at different roles, somebody might be selecting a process and giving it to you. But then, you can just apply I have a very, very basic funda where you can apply that, how do you know if you can automate a process or not? Let me give you a very quick example. Let's say in your project team, let's say you're going on a leave for 5 days, right? But then you go to your manager and it's a very random leave, you don't apply for it. You go to your manager and say, I need to go for 5 days leave. Your manager says, I do not have an issue with you going on a leave. It's just that, just find someone who can take care of your task. So you go to your friend. A friend indeed is a friend indeed, right? So you go to your friend and say, I'm going on a leave, but I need you to take care of my job. Now your friend says, he's not aware what you're doing, right? So what you do is you prepare him a piece of paper. You write all the instructions that if this kind of an email comes from the client, you do this. If this happens, you respond to this request. If this email comes from for the operations team, you forward them to the operations team, keeping the manager in CC. If something happens, you escalate to the manager. So he writes all the instructions on a piece of paper that you can just look at this piece of paper and my entire job is done. So now the actual point comes. So when you're on a 5 days leave, and if somebody can do your job by looking at that piece of paper, that means you're replaceable. There is no dependency. And if you're replaceable, that means that your job can be automated. Because when you are not at your seat for 5 days, you are on a leave, somebody else could take over your job just by looking at that piece of paper. Now that piece of paper is nothing but set of instructions for the other guy to follow. That means that can be automated. He did not have to call you and check. But while you were away, if he had to call you in the middle that, I received a weird request from the client, and it is not a part of the piece of paper that he provided, I don't know what to do. Can you help me here? That means there was a break or a gap in the requirements. He had to call you and ask what to do next because that is not a part of the piece of paper. That means your automation breaks at that point. So that is what you have to identify. Is this automation going from end to end, or is it going to break somewhere, right? Can I automate in modules, granules, or can I automate the entire thing? So that is how you decide if the process can be automated or not. Now, guys, there is a long list. We do process analysis, we do checklist, right? That is the standard way of doing it. But just by looking at, if I give you a high level map and you have to check if the process can be automated or not, you can just put a simple, this kind of formulated way, and then you can even check if the process can be automated, right? Now let's just quickly read this. RPA is actually a capability as in it's software and services that allows a virtual workforce. Now these bots, we call them as virtual workforce. Now why? Now guys, we are actually permanent workforce, right? Sitting in the company, and we are their physical asset, or we are their physical workforce. Now, if somebody is replacing us, but that doesn't exist physically, that becomes a virtual workforce because it's doing the same job as I am doing, and it's going to do my job even more efficiently. Then that becomes a virtual workforce. So it's a software and services that allows a virtual workforce termed as bots to transact in any of your company systems in the same way a human would to perform complex and rule-based activities. Now, guys, this last line, what does this mean is in any of your company system in the same way a human would. So bot would do it in the same way. Apart from this, whatever accesses you have a mailbox account, you have access to MS Office, you have access to clients applications, you have access to a domain, right? All these same accesses would have to be provided to bots also. So when a bot is onboarded, it's the same way a new employee is onboarded into a company. A bot gets a new email account, a bot gets a new Windows ID, a bot gets everything. So the onboarding of bots is pretty much same the way you are. It's given the same level of accesses, only then it will be able to do your job, right? Only that we are not giving salary to it, otherwise everything is safe. Okay. In other words, it is a use of software to mimic the actions of a human user that would be performed on a PC to scale or to automate business processes. It is simply a concept that leverages virtual software robots called as bots that emulate human interactions with systems to automate existing user actions. Now, we do not call them as robots mostly, because robots, we already know they're in the physical world and we have seen robots, right? So it becomes confusing. So in RP, we call them as bots. Okay. Software bots, basically. Now, let's have a look at what are the different products from UiPath company. Now, guys, UiPath Studio, Orchestrator, and Robot is just one part of the UiPath company. That's one product, or you can say that's three products from UiPath company, but which is related to RP. Now, apart from that, UiPath has a lot of other products also. Now, in a project, we have different phases. We have discover, build, manage, run, engage, measure, right? For the entire life cycle, UiPath has provided products for the same. Now, let's say you are into discovery phase, due diligence phase, or you're creating documents, right? For all those, we have tools like task mining, process mining, automation hub, task capture, right? So these are tools, which is for, you can say idea propagation or managing your pipelines, right? Even task capture is there. If you want to generate a document, let's say right now we prepare a solution design document or a process design document. So task capture can help you create a PDD. You can just record the actions, what the SME is doing, and it will generate a document for you. So it has taken automation to next level where it has become an entire framework now. So not just automating the processes through Studio, it has a lot of other products also. Even task mining and process mining, right? Even these tools are there where you do the data, okay, let's say, before you start automation, sometimes you have to standardize the process. Sometimes you have to structure the data. Sometimes a re-engineering of the process is required. Even those tools are there. Process mining and task mining are there, right? Now, then we have something for build. So like I showed you Studio, this is the one which is mostly being used right now. I think 90% of the population is actually using this Studio. Apart from that, we have Studio X, Studio Pro, and Document Understanding. Studio X is for business users who want, let's say, why Studio X came into picture. Most of the travel in the work or most of the showcasing in our projects, right, is done by the business people. Like, they'll take somebody from the technical team and they'll do a demo. But sometimes what happens, they're stuck in a situations where developer or somebody from the technical team is not available because it's a call which is beyond their level. So even the management guys, the BA guys can also prepare a small demo. Studio X is very easy to use. It does not include any expressions function. You can directly use it. So Studio X is also, one downgraded feature of Studio, you can say, where it's not so technical. It's basically an entirely code-free environment which business people can also use. Then document understanding is more of, you can say, it's kind of an OCR feature from UiPath. Basically, it can interpret varieties of documents, right? So our most of our processes rely on documents, right? So this is the new feature from UiPath, which is launched, I think, 1.5 years back, or might be 2 years, right? So it's able to, like, there are different competitive products in the market also. So we have Microsoft Form Recognizer, we have Abby Flexi Capture, right? So these are all OCR tools. Even UiPath has also launched its document understanding tool, which is capable of understanding a lot of different type of documents. Now to manage your processes and bots, we have Orchestrator. You've already seen that. We have Automation Cloud, AI Fabric, and Test Manager. Now, AI Fabric is only for managing your artificial intelligence libraries, or if you've used any models or any machine learning models, you can use it there. Test Manager is for, you can say, you're managing test cases, creating a test cases. So this is like automation testing. Then Automation Cloud is for, it includes a lot of features, not just one. So Automation Cloud is a kind of, we can say, an umbrella keyword where you put, let's say, the same thing you have in Jira also, where you put a story and then you highlight everything and then you link documents to it. So you have Automation Cloud here also. Then for running, so we have we have different kinds of robots. We have unattended robots which runs on its own. So these unattended kind of robots are capable of logging into the system, doing your job, sending out an email, keeping the backup, and then logging out of the system. So that means bot is capable of doing everything. Then there are attended robots. Sometimes what happens, the processes are broken down where a human judgment might be required. So these are broken down into attended robots. Then we have engage. Now these are new features. We have chatbots, we have contact center solutions, we have UiPath apps, right? So let's say we'll build a very small app to give it to the client and just say feed the data. As soon as the data is fed, the bot runs from there. So they can provide the data from their phone also. So we have UiPath apps, we have Action Center. This is human in the loop, and we have Assistant also. Okay. Assistant, I can show you here only. So Assistant is another tool from UiPath. It is also used for running, and you can actually get all your processes here. You can run it directly from here. So it's a small widget from, you can say, UiPath. Then measure. Now, what management basically looks at, is basically looking at what exactly or what are the statistics your RP is producing, what are the ROI, right? So you can track everything through UiPath Insights. It's a new tool from, or you can say it's a new incorporated tool from UiPath, which is already as a part of the Orchestrator. You can go ahead and enable it from there. So this is used for dashboarding, for any kind of dashboard you want to showcase to the management, or what is the stats. So you can use this. Yep. Now we'll quickly have a look at the tools, and then I'll take your questions. Okay. So like I said, Automation Hub is for opportunities and pipeline. Increase your automation program, ROI be better prioritizing. Even prioritization comes in handy here. Task mining. Okay. Now task mining is mostly for where you can say AI libraries with your program. It's also called as hyper automation. If you would have heard in the market, the recent term is hyper automation. So we use task mining for that. We choose better tasks, right? Structured workflows. Then we have task capture. Now, sorry, task capture is for auto-generated process. So even this will give you auto-generated documents, auto-generated process maps. This is for RP or citizen developers to start automating, right? So this can automatically create documents for you, and even process maps. Then we have document understanding. Like I said, it's comparable to others, like other OCRs like Form Recognizer or Abby Flexi Capture. Similarly, a document understanding model is there with UiPath also. Then Studio, we've seen Studio. It's used for designing or designing the bots, running the bot, testing the processes from there. Studio X is a no-code platform. It's only for business users, right? Mostly business users are using this. Like if a BA wants to showcase a POC, you can build a POC in Studio X. Then we have Action Center. Action Center is like a human in the loop. Human in the loop, as in some there are some processes. Like I would say some complex processes in which a human interaction is necessarily required. So there is a component in UiPath which is called as Action Center that you can place all the requests there. So bot will stop there, or you can say suspend there. It'll place a request in the human queue. As soon as a human approves it or does the needful, then the bot will continue from there. So it's basically in the bot process a human assistance or a human interaction. If required, we can use this Action Center. Insights is for, again, I said, it's for dashboarding. It's for analytics. It's for showcasing these stats. So you can use this. Otherwise, a comparative tool to Insights, you would have used Kibana is there, Power BI Tableau is there, right? So see, now basically UiPath is growing from RPA to an entire framework automation. So it's just basically, getting all those tools in line, right? But now if you're a developer, you're starting up, you don't have to worry about all these tools. I would say you start from Studio, you take their, RPA developer foundation. Okay. And then when you become an expert in development, then you can go for these tools, right? Now, this entire journey, it's not just developer limited. You can, there are a lot of people come into picture here, like this idea population is, or idea prioritization is actually for managers, BAs can take it here. Build is mostly for developer people, like, and similarly, we have other roles also in the entire journey. Okay. Now, let's have a look at your questions. Okay. Somebody said, is this platform independent? So yes, UiPath is platform independent. It can interact with any kind of application platform, and it doesn't require your application to change. So it's platform independent. Okay. Let me take up some other questions. Just okay. Nishat says, what is RPA? I think Nishat, now it would have been clear, right? When I gave the example of when you leaving your job for 5 days, you're going on a leave, and a software can take care of your job just by looking at a piece of instruction, is actually RPA. Okay. Abdul asked, what does bot means? So, like, there are robots in the physical world, right? Where it can do it can do a lot of tasks, right? So similarly, we have bots in the software world. We call them as bots, just not to keep it confusing. So we have bots here, right? Again, these are software and services which can do your job, as simple as that. Is this open source tool? Ashish, not like, we have open source libraries in .NET, but this is a community version of it. You can use it, and if you like it, you can, buy the license from UiPath to implement in your project. But the learning part of it is free. So I would not call it as entirely open source, because you cannot use the libraries independent of the license. But yeah, learning part is entirely free. You can try your tools, you can run it on community version. So Saurabh says, bot or robot means an autonomous program that can interact with systems or user based on the input. Okay. I would say partially yes, because it is not actually based on input. Bot can, it can start working. It doesn't have to wait. Let's say if I've scheduled something, it can automatically start doing everything. It doesn't have to wait for input. If this, but yeah, that is one scenario where it can be based on input also. Like, let's say if a mail comes, bot has to trigger. So even that kind of solutions are there. What license is this tool published under? So this license, this tool has its own license. Okay. Right now, this tool is a community version where you can download. I'll show you where you can download this. But right now, this is a community version. Okay. And you don't need to buy any license. For community, it's free forever. Can it be installed on GNU plus Linux or BSD systems? Okay. Earlier, it was only for Microsoft systems, but recently they have launched something for Linux. I am not sure if that is up and running, but I can quickly check that. UiPath for they were in talks, for making, or you can say a UiPath for Linux also, but I'm not sure has that been, done or not, because I know Linux for Windows, it only supports Windows at the moment, but I think, okay, it's not supported on Linux at the moment. Okay. It does not support Linux or any other systems at the moment, only Microsoft. Is this paid application or license-based one? It's a license-based one, which means it is a paid one, Joseph, right? And if you're working on a project, I think the client would, procure the license and then you can use it. Otherwise, community version, it gives you access to everything for learning. So for learning, it's free. Otherwise, if you're using in a project, you can buy the licenses there. Where does the recordings get saved? Prabha Rani, recording, where does the recordings get saved? So if you're talking about the UiPath recordings, so let's say, whatever you have, you can just go to project. It gets saved into your system only. You can just click on this folder and you can see the entire thing saved here. I hope you're asking about this recording and not the session recording. Can we use it to connect to databases? Yes, like I said, you have varieties of database plugins here. You can connect to database, obviously, for sure. Is this recording in PPT deck is shared? Recording will definitely be shared. PPT deck also, will share that. Okay, but you have the recording. I think you won't need the PPT deck, but if you want, I can share that also. It will not be a problem. Can we use UiPath to connect to databases? Yes, we can, Rajshekhar. Is Orchestrator like a CI/CD? How this is being maintained in a source code repo? Okay. I would not say Orchestrator is a CI/CD platform, right? But we have a source code, or you can say a version control system in the middle. So what I do is we put our code or design into GitHub or Bitbucket, and then Orchestrator can take it from there, or we can use a pipeline to trigger it. So it's not entirely CI/CD right now, but we implement or we integrate CI/CD also with the Orchestrator or UiPath platform. How we configure Orchestrator step-by-step process? It's okay. Step-by-step process. There are a lot of videos online. You can definitely have a look, but it's very easy. Just log in. They'll ask you for your ID, and that's it. The only portion where you'll face issues is connecting your UiPath to Orchestrator. But that also you can avoid if you are actually following their academy training. They have, they have given everything. How do you configure them? Okay. Mahesh Babu says, can you please tell me the attended and unattended robots? So unattended robots are basically the ones which are capable of running from starting to end on their own. They do not need any human assistance. They do not need any human interaction or triggers. That means even if I'm not in the office, that bot can log in on its own into my system, do my job, send the email, send the output, log out on its own. Whereas attended are the ones which require human trigger or human intervention. I'll give you an example. Let's say, I'm going into a bank where I want to cash my check, right? I'll have to submit the check manually, right? But after I submit the check, after my signature has been verified by a manual agent, I can just scan the check and put it into system. Now that can be, after that, it can be taken care by the bot. Even some OTP based systems where you are providing an OTP, because some of the banks will not provide you access to their OTP based systems just so that you can automate that, right? So basically we have manual intervention at or manual handshake at a lot of these points. Can we use this for automation testing? Yes, we can. So if you look at home, we have, start. So if you look at home, we also have something called as test automation. You can create automation test cases. You can run them from the orchestrator. So you can definitely use it for test automation testing also. Rather than insights, how it is useful for management department. Okay. I think ROI is place where, management would be looking at. So you can, in the insights, you can do it for ROI. See, apart just not just insights, there is this entire automation hub. It's same like I think your another BPM tool like Appian is there. So you can use it similarly. Automation hub is there, right? Let me quickly show you that. So I'm talking about this automation hub. So you can use it for pipeline management or ideation. Okay, I missed, where was I? Is this substitute for automation testing? Now, guys, this is not a substitute for automation testing, but this is an RPA tool. They incorporated automation testing as well. So you can definitely use it for automation testing. It is not a substitute, but you can, if you're using some of the tool, you're already using UiPath for RPA, then you can utilize the same license for automation testing also. And do we certification cost? The certifications from the academy are all free, right? You can just go and attend their videos. They'll give you a diploma certification from the academy. There are only 2 paid certifications for developers at the moment. Others certifications are all free. Can you touch base more on hyper automation, how different it is from visual automation practice that we do, how it's being benefited? Could you throw some examples of the projects that hyper automation fits in? Yeah, sure. So see, earlier we were doing RPA. Now it gradually moved on to IRP, or you can say hyper automation, basically intelligent RPA or hyper automation. Now in intelligent RPA, apart from the normal instructions that my bot follows, we also incorporate some AI. Now when I say AI, it's a very broader term. I mean some AI libraries or some ML libraries or some natural language processing, right? Now examples would be, let's say I want to read an email. If you want to get the emotion from email, how is that person responding? Is he angry? Is this a normal email or is this an escalation email? How do you bot identifies that? We can use sentimental analysis AI. If you want to recognize the music, or if you want to, let's say, let's say if you want to take out, you have an image of a car, right? Which did a traffic violation. If you want to take out the number from that image, you can just use an AI library, an OCR library, will get you the number for that image. So, not just these cases, there are a lot of different cases for AI ML. If you just search online, what is hyper automation, there are a lot of ML libraries which are being used. Sentimental analysis is one, OCR is one. You can use, a lot of OCR, extract, Abby. You can even use, a lot of face recognition techniques, right? If you want to, because, if you see, there are some of the captchas that are being, there on most of the websites for login. So all these features are there, which you can definitely becomes a case for. Even I'll give you an example. Let's say in a bank, if you have a lot of accounts in a bank, and we have a lot of accounts in a bank without knowing also. Sometimes you have a saving account. If you have a loan, you have a loan account. If you have a mortgage, you have a mortgage account, right? Now, sometimes the name differs from one account to another. So let's say my name is okay. My name for let's say my name for this account is Jack M, right? For the or Jack Smith, right? And for the other account, it's just Jack.S. And for the third account, it's Jack Sparrow Smith. That means my middle name is also there. But how does my bot know that all these names belong to the same customer, right? So we can use some libraries to compare the name and hits there also. So Gaurav says, might be a bad question, Prateek, but how and where we deploy these projects in general for real-time practice? Love that you explained this topic. Thank you, Gaurav, for the feedback. And how are these deployed? Okay. Now, basically, these are deployed in the orchestrator, right? Once you have done it with your process, you put them to an orchestrator. Now, what we do in orchestrator, we have something called as machines. Basically here. Now, these robots are nothing but these are machines. So you can add multiple machines here where you want to run them. Okay. So if you see, these are my production machines. Okay. So you can add a machine here and you can run your bots on those machines. Now, these machines are all actually server-based VMs. So you can run and assign any VM to any bot and then you can run your bots there. So basically, once your code is there in this orchestrator, you can trigger it on any machines, whatever machines you have registered with it. What is a minimum system requirement to run UiPath? Okay. Ideally, you can find it supports certain Windows systems and it has certain specific, software requirements, but it's very easy to get it from the academy. Once you start that small training, you can definitely get it. But yeah, Windows 7, 8, 10, all these are definitely supported. Even 2 GB RAM is supported, even 100 GB hard disk is supported. So yeah, it works out. Can we trigger the bot and make changes in the middle while running in by a programming language? See, once you trigger the bot, if you're making any changes within the bot via any programming languages, you can use programming languages in the middle. You can use any scripts you want. But that should be as a part of the design. You cannot just go and make random changes while the program is running, right? So it has to be a part of the design, and you can definitely use any programming language. You can use any scripts also. So we use that, right? We use VB scripts, we use batches, we use shell scripts, we use sometimes macros or VB scripts to do some task on the Excel. So we do that. Roshan. Do we need coding software programming skill to learn UiPath? So guys, Karthik is saying, do we need, and I get this question a lot, do we need coding or software programming skills to learn UiPath? Now it is nothing as such. All you need is basics of any programming languages. Now that basics, what we call is that OOP, right? Object-oriented programming. If you know what is a class, you know what is a variable. I think that should be pretty much it. If you know what are string functions, that's it. You don't have to learn the format of string function. You don't have to understand it. You don't have to understand, about different structures. It's just that you should have the logical mind for programming. That's it. There's no programming skill, nothing required. I've taught this UiPath to freshers, to HRs, to operations, to any team which is not technical, and they are pretty much doing well in UiPath right now. Why this technology, became 10 times from the point where it is launched is because of this. Even a fresher can learn it, even an experienced can learn it, even a management guy can learn it, even an HR can learn it. So it's pretty much, it's very easy. Compare it to its competitor. What advantage UiPath has? Great inside details. Thank you. Thank you, Kunal. I think with respect to its competitor, I think most of the other tools are still focused on, getting, you can say, if I say Blue Prism, there is, Blue Prism, there's a lot of update required in Blue Prism yet, right? It's an old tool, but it is stable though. But there are a lot of features which are missing in Blue Prism. You can say there are no recorders, there are no screen scraping wizards, there is no insights, or you can say dashboarding. There is very less amount of dashboarding there. So there are a lot of these features which you'll not find in other tools, which you find it here. So automation hub, these many products, no other company of RP is having these many products just to support your RPA projects. Thank you, Mahesh. We'll have separate credentials for Orchestrator. You can use the same email ID. You just go and register on the cloud.uipath.com. I'll just send you the link on the chat so you can copy that. Do we need coding software programming skill? I think, Jyoti, that answers your question. Can we handle dynamic flows like automation can take decision based on situation? Definitely, automation can take, decision, but those decisions that the automation will take will all be database decisions. Like, I should only process the case if the account balance is greater than 10,000. If the age is greater than 18, then only it should be processed. So all these decisions definitely what can take. Thank you, Rupesh. Thanks, Manoj, for the feedback. Thank you, Gaurav. Sanjay says how UiPath is used for documenting. Not just for documenting, there is something called as task capture, right? When, let's say, I have to make a keystroke document, right? SME is doing something. So I can just turn on the task capture, and whatever steps you do, like we saw recording in studio, right? There is also recording for documents. So whatever steps the SMEs will be doing in the application, we'll keep recording that and we'll make a line for it. Click here, click there. I'll get you everything with screenshots. So it can be used for documentation also. Okay, I think a couple of you need to drop off for another meeting, guys. I know it got extended 5 minutes. Or you had a lot of questions, but thank you so much, guys, for dropping off. I'll continue with the Q&A. If you want to stay, you're most welcome. And if you want to drop for another meeting, thank you everyone for the session. Thank you for being patient. I hope you enjoyed the session. I'll take off another questions for now, but if you guys want to drop, feel free. And guys, I'll share you the deck for this, right? Meanwhile, I'll give you some links in the chat, uipath.academy.com. Sorry. academy.uipath.com. This is for Academy. Okay. Then we have cloud.uipath.com. This is for Orchestrator. Okay. I've given you both the links in the chat. You can go and register there. And from the Orchestrator only, you can download your studio if you want. If you go to home page, this is on the right side of the homepage. You can see download studio. Okay. Thank you, everyone. It was a nice session. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Happy automation, guys. Happy learning. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Okay, somebody said, okay, just a second. I think it's one last question. Asked you one question in Q&A. Okay, let me have a look. Sorry for that. Being a salesperson, how can I switch into UiPath? Okay. See, I would say since you're a salesperson and you want to switch into UiPath, I would say start from the academy. Now, since you're a salesperson, you already know the business tactics, right? So I would say start from the business analyst training, see what our RPA is, what documents are being built. So I would say, I would recommend, start from the business analyst training and then make your way forward. So once you get into the technology, right, you'll find your way on. So I would say recommendation starting for you is either business analyst or implementation manager training, I would say. I hope that answers your question. Okay, thank you guys. Closing of the session. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everyone. Okay, and recording and deck, I think you guys would receive it over email. You can check with the L&D department. Okay. You will get the recording from there. Thank you. Bye, guys.